What is up, guys? Delboy here. So this weekend is a fairly quiet weekend of boxing, but we have the title fight between Tyron Zeuge and Rocky Fielding. This is going to be for the WBA super middleweight title, which is held by Tyron Zeuge. Obviously, George Groves holds the super version of that title. We all love the WBA and their multiple belt shenanigans, but yeah, it's a fight that's kind of gone under the radar. Not too many people are talking about it. Got to say, it doesn't really set the pulses racing. But if I get a spare 45 minutes, I'll give it a watch. It's one of those type of fights. I wouldn't be gutted if I missed it. But if I get some free time and I'm available, I will watch it. Tyron Zeuge has home advantage. The fight is taking place in Germany. So anything close you would imagine will go to Tyron Zeuge. So Rocky Fielding really needs to lay it all on the line and win with either something in hand or he needs to knock Tyron Zeuge out. It's that simple. Looking at both guys, I've seen a bit of both guys. I've seen more of Rocky Fielding, obviously, but I have seen some Tyron Zeuge fights. To me, Zeuge, he is the better technician. He has better all-round ability. His all-round fundamentals are better. He's a calmer fighter. And he just seems to be more of a thinking fighter, to be quite honest with you. He doesn't do anything especially great, but I just feel all round he's a more solid fundamental fighter than Rocky Fielding. Rocky Fielding, to me, he's a good domestic level fighter, but I think anything above that, he's going to start to come unstuck. And I think his resume suggests that. His biggest fight so far to date was against Callum Smith. He got knocked out in a round in that fight. Callum Smith blasted him out of there. So I also question his punch resistance, not necessarily because he lost in one round, but I feel he drains himself down to make super middleweight, and he has been hurt by non-punchers such as Christopher Rebresse. And as I say, Callum Smith was his highest level opponent to date. He lost that fight in a round. His second highest level opponent was arguably John Ryder. He actually won that fight by a split decision, but most people I've spoken to had John Ryder winning. I also had John Ryder winning that fight. Also, he fought Christopher Rebresse. Rebresse is a sort of a European level super middleweight. Again, Rocky Fielding won that fight by split decision. But again, a lot of people had Rebresse winning it. So his resume suggests that he's a British/fringe European level fighter. I think that's about right. And although I don't really rate Tyron Zeuge that highly, I don't think Rocky Fielding's at the level where he's going to beat Tyron Zeuge. I think he has a chance because he does carry some power. So there's always that chance he lands the perfect punch and he gets Zeuge out of there. Zeuge has been hurt in fights. He got hurt against De Carolis, I believe, off the top of my head. So maybe there is scope for an upset there, for a knockout. But I can't see him outpointing Zeuge. Zeuge's a far better technician as far as I'm concerned. And not only that, I feel Zeuge has the power to hurt Rocky Fielding. Like I said, Fielding really does drain himself down to make the weight. And I think Zeuge, although he's not a big puncher, he hits hard enough to gain Fielding's respect and maybe even stop him. Zeuge is a textbook boxer. He's fairly accurate. And Fielding is open at times. He brings... He does throw a lot of wide shots at times. And Zeuge is a good straight puncher. So when Fielding does let his hands go, if he does, I think Zeuge could be, or he could have success with those straight punches, especially that straight right. I feel overall, Zeuge, he should win this fight. I think there is scope for an upset, like I said. Fielding does carry some sort of power, but in terms of technical ability, in terms of all-round talent, I think Zeuge is the better fighter. Not only that, although Zeuge hasn't fought the greatest opposition, he has come back from some adversity. Obviously, in the first De Carolis fight, that was a draw. Arguably he lost that fight. But, he gritted it out in that fight. He overcame some tough moments. And then in the rematch, he stopped Giovanni De Carolis. So I'm not saying Zeuge is a great fighter. I don't think he's a world-class fighter. I think that title is there to be taken from him. But, he's a solid fighter. He's a guy who is probably better than the likes of Rocky Fielding, and he should be winning on Saturday. But one more thing that is interesting about this fight, I did say that Rocky Fielding carries a bit of power. He's also the bigger guy. I believe he's like 6'1". Zeuge's about 5'11". Fielding's a big super middleweight. So maybe he could impose his size and height on Zeuge, but I don't think that's a realistic possibility because it's not something Fielding's done that much in the past, or he's certainly not done it very well anyway. So I almost forgot to mention that because Fielding doesn't do it that well. He doesn't make the most of his height and reach and size. So I can't count on him doing it against Zeuge. I've got a Zeuge win here, maybe points, maybe late stoppage, I don't really know. Zeuge should have enough though. After this fight, I would like to see Zeuge step up to see what he's really made of. Zeuge, solid European level fighter, wins over De Carolis, Serge Locker, and a lopsided win over Paul Smith kind of indicates that he's a good European level boxer. But I want to see him above that level next, providing he wins this fight. I want to see him in there with a recognisable elite or at least fringe world level super middleweight next. What do you guys think of this fight? Peace.